Kubor nakaslem jong unongsan Hima.
Menteri Rangba ke Jylla Konrad Konggal Sangma habaya keren matkilat pathai kubor harin ke Jingeh jong ke kinhon menteri kabalalong mentakasngi ke khat ar trik unailor arajar arpulai ula pentip bakum ke kinhon menteri laya keren chapang ke jingbo ye ke State Water Informatics Center Meghalaya ha ke Jingeh Trailang bat katna Pyntreikam jong ke Water Resources ha ke bakathong jong ke jingbo ya ke SWIC kalong bakan long kum katnat kaban lumni ke jingtip ha ke be day bat ki hapo ke Jylla halor ke jingdon jong ki ki wa la kalong ha ke por slap ne don slap bat ru ban pej baro shisnem bat banya sam ru ye kini ki jingtip bat katnat Pyntreikam jong ke PHE lem bat katnat soil disaster bat kiwei kitnat Pyntreikam ki be day bat ka khanang ban la ban rai de ka punshong nong rim kat kum ki jingtip bat yakani lamang de ka sarkar India. Menteri Rangba ke Jylla ula pentip ru balaya keren ru halor ka hydro power project kabala soy ka soskular de ka sarkar Meghalaya hakisnam ki bala deb ki bakinthop ye ka Kinshi hydroelectrical project ka upper Cree stage 1 but stage 2 project hakabala rai ban pendam no namar ka jinghiran pisa ka jingkiu dor badru ka jing penslem jong ki company ban Pyntreikam yikini ki project henry ka sarkar kanyele ban ya shakhmat ban wat de ki weipat ki parlok ban ye Trailang ha ka rukom ka bathamai namar ka barim kamla ban Pyntreikam hadu kata ha ka be dei bat ka jing penmi ka boarding bat ka jingdon jong ka kumta don kam ban penkela ki project bat ki tnat Pyntreikam bat ka sarkar kin pej benya ya kani bat shen an sala ban ya shakman ha kerukom kebathamai hagani gasngi na kalyang Konrad Sangma ula pentip bru ba na kalyang ka kinhon menteri kalawan ra ya lai teli ki ordinance ki bakinthop ya ka jing pendam no ya ka Rajat Lal University Act arajar khatway ka jing penbet thamai ya ka Goods and Services Act arajar khatnyo bat ka Meghalaya Medical Council Amendment Bill arajar arpulai haswa ban ra shakador bar senrai jong ka yeng dor bar thawan jong ka Jylla ka ban salong hagini gisngi ki ban wan.
First was the establishment of the State Water Informatics Center Meghalaya with the Department of Water Resources as the lead department or nodal department. The basic objective of this State Water Informatics Center is to be the agency that is going to capture information related to water in the state in different levels, whether it's the rain, whether it's the water levels in the streams, catchment areas, spring sheds, and monitor them throughout the years and share that data with concerned departments like PHE and soil conservation, agriculture, disaster management, and so on and so forth, departments related with water, so that proper informative decisions can be made. And hence this is also mandated by Government of India, Jal Shakti Ministry, and this decision was made today that this will be set up, and it will be under the nodal agency will be the Department of Water Resources. So that was the first decision that was made today. Hydropower projects that was signed by the Government of Meghalaya many years back. One is the Kinshi 1 hydroelectric project, and number 2 is the Upper Cree stage 1 and stage 2 projects. As you recall that these two projects were in collaboration and tie up with some private parties, but because of the financial non-viability of these projects or unviability of these projects and the rates coming up too high, and also the time taken by the different companies to implement this, the decision was taken by the cabinet that both these projects, the Kinshi 1 project and the Upper Cree stage 1 and 2 projects, will be terminated. But the government will and the departments concerned will immediately move for looking for new partners, or maybe the same partners also in a new format, because as I said, the main reasons was that the project in its current forms were not looking or not viable in terms of the rates. But the new technologies that have come in, where pump storage and other facilities can be used, and also the combination of the water being released from one project and being used as a downstream for another project, like in the case of Upper Cree Stage 1, 2. The projects also need to be changed, and hence the government will immediately, the department will immediately work in that aspect, and we hope that very soon we'll be able to have the expression of interest to move forward with these projects in its new form. Number 3, there were 3 ordinances that the government had passed. Those ordinances need to be regularized in the House, and those ordinances were brought today in terms of an amended bill or a bill, and that will be put up in the Assembly. So the first was the repeal of the Rajat Lal University Act 2011. If you recall, we had repealed this through an ordinance. Second was the amendment of Meghalaya Goods and Service Tax 2017. These are amendments that are mandated in terms of the GST Council. The decisions that have been taken by GST Council are then implemented by the state governments, and every state government then has to amend the GST Act of the state as per the amendments made by the GST Council. So these are just regularizing those decisions made by the Council by amending them, and this was done by an ordinance, and now will be ratified, or will be regularizing it by bringing it to the Assembly. Third was the amendment bill for the Meghalaya Medical Council Amendment Bill 2023. This again was an ordinance, if you recall, and if you go back into your notes, you will see the reasons why there were some changes. Nomenclature changes were there, and those have been made, and the ordinance was passed a few weeks back, and that now again is being regularized. National Law University of Meghalaya Bill 2023. Here there were basic changes where we are bringing in certain amendments to the Finance Committee in the college, in the university, and that amendment for the change in the structure of the Finance Committee of the college was proposed in the amendment bill, and at the same time there were some nomenclatures that had to be again changed because it had to be made uniform across the Act, and hence those small minor nomenclature amendments have also been brought in. This again will be presented in the Assembly. The last was the proposal for creation of an engineering wing in the police headquarters in Shillong. As you're aware that the police has a large number of infrastructures all over the state, and hence in order to be able to allow the police department to take care of the needs of these different buildings and offices, an engineering wing was required, because in the absence of an engineering wing, the department would have to follow different procedures which are very time consuming and involve different agencies to do small things like even repair of a bathroom or repair of a thana or repair of a Bharat. So all these kind of activities that are there will now be done by the engineering wing. And as you're aware, last year we had come up with the decision to sanction and keep certain funds at the discretion of the SP and the DC of every district, so that they can use that money for immediate repair work at the district level, so that proper infrastructure can be provided for policing. And this decision today will allow that decision to be implemented in a better manner, and ensure that whatever basic requirements that the police personnel need at the district and the grassroots level, those requirements can be met. So this important decision was taken today as part of a large number of reforms that we are doing in the Home Department. So these were the decisions taken by the Cabinet. For the Kinshi was in 2007, and the Upper Cree project, so the government and the Power Department invited expression of interest in 2012, and a letter of intent to the party for undertaking the Upper Cree project was given to them on 11th January 2013.
So regarding the Kanchi, was it because of the uranium deposit that the project had to be?
No, there were different aspects that were there. Details, of course, all the aspects or details, technical aspects will be very long to go into. But in a nutshell, the technical viability of the project was impacted. The water level, they had studied again. In the initial stage, they had given a larger amount, but then later on, depending on the topography and depending on the water availability out there, the size of the project had to be reduced, and it came to a 270 megawatt project. And then after that, again, because of the fact that all the investments that were to be made with a smaller project and a smaller size of the output, the viability of the project was not there anymore. So it was purely on the basis of technical viability.
The MUA 1 and MUA 2 governments, they went on scrapping a lot of projects. Have you started a single one in your 10 years, 5.5 years?
The Gunnel project was completed, which was started. Yeah, it was started on that time, and I think so we have done that. And the second thing is, you see, what we have to realize and understand is that though the projects were signed at different levels and different stages, there are two parts. Number one, while we go for private parties to take up the projects, it's quite simple to give it to them. When the power is generated, we don't get much of it. We only get 12% as free power. The rest, if tomorrow the company comes and through the regulatory commission, if they say that you have to buy this power at 8 rupees, then we have no choice, we have to buy at 8 rupees. So the question arises whether how feasible it is for the state government, how feasible is it for the people of the state, how feasible is it for the government. Now today, for us to produce and go forward in a project like, say, just to give another example, say Leshka, thousands of crores of investments will have to be made in order to produce another 100, 200 megawatts out there. Now, that kind of investment being made, say, in a solar mission which we're doing at 500 megawatt, 500 crores, which we're going to implement in the next 5 years. Are these going to be more beneficial? So ultimately, one has to study the technical and financial viability of the project and see whether it's going to make sense for us to invest so much of money, especially again keeping in mind that if we give it to private sector, there is no commitment of giving us power, so we have to buy it from them at even a high rate. And number two, for us to take up the project on our own also, with MECL having a large financial stress on it even today, would it be financially viable for us to do that in the long run? That aspect then has to be seen. So the decision may sound very simple, but it has large implications in the years to come, and hence we have to be very careful. We feel that it is more important as of now today to efficiently run the system that is already existing. How do we ensure that the supply of power that we have, how do we rationalize it? How do we make sure that we are able to purchase it at a better rate and sell at a higher rate whenever we can? And how to improve the overall efficiency in working of all the systems. Today you'll be happy to know that all the units of the power supply today are actually functioning. All the units. There was a time when, stage 2, 3 of Umiam was not working, or 2, 3 of the turbines were not working in thing, and we were having huge loss. Today we are producing almost close to 4 million units of power a day. That's the highest we have ever produced. So I think it's important to look at these efficiencies and overall efficiency in terms of our AT&C losses. So all these areas are important. So production is also important. But as I said, we need to be very careful in where we commit our financial commitments, so that in the long run we're able to get maximum benefit for the people of the state, keeping in mind the investments we have to make. So it's a very calculated decision we should take. Part of the larger picture, which is coming from state government as well as from central government. Water mission from our side is, yes, a water policy that was created as a large. So these agencies will actually help us to be able to keep the data and information with us, to be utilized in the correct manner for respective departments. So tomorrow, this is the center that is going to tell us that every year we are seeing a dip in, say, the water supply or the the catchment areas in, say, for the Shillong water supply scheme. It is this center that is going to collect the data every year using satellites, using human manpower at the grassroots level, using different technologies, drones, to then survey and keep this data. So this is an information database of analyzing, recording the water movement in the state from now on to the coming years, to allow us then to make decisions on how we need to adjust based on climate change and other things, on how we need to adjust for farming activities, for drinking activities, or even flood activities that are there. So that's the basic principle. No, it's like this. There is no stopping of thing. We are looking at the viability of the project right now. So let me just share with you. Upper Cree project today, if we go ahead with this project and we don't cancel it because of the time frame that is taken to implement it, and because of the technical feasibility that has not come up, or whatever you call it. Today in Upper Cree project, the unit cost is coming to approximately 9 rupees per unit. And in Kinshi, it's coming up to approximately 8 rupees per unit, which is completely unviable. So today, we are purchasing power even at 3 rupees, 2 rupees, 4 rupees, 5, 6 rupees, and of course on a high demand point, it goes to 8, 9, 10 rupees. So when we know that the project cost is going to make us have to buy project at 8 rupees, it already is unviable. So it will not be prudent on our part or proper on our part to go ahead knowing that that is a unit cost that's going to come in. So we can go ahead with the project, but then everybody should know that the cost will be 8 rupees. As for me, I don't think that's a correct step, and hence we need to redesign the project, relook at it. I'll just give you a small example what's happening. Now the Kinshi project, there is something called a pump storage technology now, where the water is allowed to be released, power is generated, power is then the water is stored. Once the power is generated, water is stored downstream. The water is stored downstream, then again using cheap power which is available through solar, which during the daytime is not sellable, because daytime the power consumption is not as high or demand is not high. Use that solar power from any part of the country or the world to pump up the water back up the stream before the power generation, and then again release it back. This is called a pump storage technology, which is now becoming very, very popular throughout the country and throughout the world, and is being found as a very, very reasonable and viable way to make a project actually profitable. Kinshi, we are exploring the water pump storage technology, and once we add that, what is the cost factor and which technology partners will be able to implement it, we need to look at it. So therefore, keeping in mind 2007 technology which was put into place does not look viable today. So therefore, we are re-looking into that. So hence the question of us not going with private sector is not the question. We are going with what is in the best interest of the state. Number one, that again I have to give me a slight patient hearing here. So what happened was there was a power swapping arrangement that was made earlier, years back, where the units were swapped. So when we took power, when we were generating high, during seasons like now, and we were giving power to certain other providers and other states, other companies, and we were taking back power from them in the month of December, January, February, March, April, when we are not having enough water supply. Rain, so our power generation would go down, and hence that basic power swapping arrangements made is still being today given to those people as we speak. So today we are, out of the 4 million units, 2 million units are being paid back to the power suppliers or power generation companies which gave us power in the month of March, April, May. We are paying them back now by giving power, so by our units. So that's where is number one, the issue. So what happens is that now we have changed that model. Now that's why we have tied up with NTPC. The agreement with NTPC and MOU is actually now to arrange this power swapping or power management portfolio of ours, so that we don't have to go into this extreme kind of a power swapping scenario, and we are able to manage the power much better. So therefore, the expertise of NTPC, their manpower, their entire production capacity, and their entire network throughout the country and internationally will allow us to be able to manage things in a better manner. So that's number one. So we are still giving power swapping even now, but that will end on 30th of September. That's number one. Number two, I have maintained from day one that, which again you have to note, that Meghalaya government is still supporting MECL with hundreds of crores of financial support to still buy power and for their other running expenditures, because the revenue generation is not enough. And obviously we have a lot of AT&C losses, and other regulatory commission issues are there where the rates are not being justified. So apart from all of this, what's happening is that we have maintained, I have been very clear with the public also, that we will continue the load shedding for 2 to 3 hours, because in the night time there is not so much of inconvenience for the people. By 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's not so inconvenient. But you'll be happy to know that because of this model that we have adopted of using this power that we have and selling it in the market today, we are actually earning positive revenue out of this. And today MECL is actually seeing that the net amount of revenue that we earn from purchase and sale of power is for the first time positive in many, many years. So actually MECL is earning money today by selling power which we store in, say, Umyam Lake, Umyam Reservoir, and we produce it at 1 o'clock in the night. A large amount of revenue comes in for the state from there, for MECL, that is. And that helps us to bridge the gap between the financial challenges that MECL faces. So hence, one has to see the larger picture and realize that there are numerous challenges. Obviously, we are trying our best to minimize, and that's why you've seen that we have now brought it down just to 1 to 2 hours, and that too in times and timings which are more convenient for the people and does not affect them too much. And we are avoiding having load shedding during the important times of the year, and this will continue. As I said, this basic load shedding will continue, because this is the power that we are able to sell and bridge the gap between the revenue and loss of MECL, which allows MECL to become more stable. So these are very important factors which you, and through your question, I'm thankful, public will also come to know that these are the challenges we face, and that we are trying to manage this. And hopefully, as I said, as we move along and as we are able to manage our portfolio in a much better manner, we will see much more smoother power supply in the future. So my goal being that rather than having 8-9 hours of load shedding, say in the month of March, April, May, June, July, it's better to have, say, 1 hour throughout the year, and then or 2 hours throughout the year, and and being able to manage it in a better manner. It makes more sense for us to do so rather than having extreme. Is that going to happen or not? Well, I can't say right now. I hope it will, but that is what our goal is. And hence, just because we have additional power, we just start using it in the way we want to use it. As I said earlier also, may not be the most prudent manner in handling the situation. Let us look forward to the next 6 months, 8 months, 10 months on how the power supply will be, and based on that, take the decision now so that we are able to minimize the inconvenience to the people even in 2024, April, May, June. So all these factors are being looked at.
Any financial involvement in scrapping?
And as I said, that it's not that we want to scrap projects and we just don't want to do it. It's not that. That should not be your headlines tomorrow. The headlines is simply that these projects are unviable. We will have to buy power at 8 to 9 rupees today from these two plants, which is not acceptable. And hence, we would want better technology to be implemented. Hence, we are going for another expression of interest for the same projects, and maybe the same parties will apply again. There's no problem. Or other parties may apply, and as soon as possible, we'll go ahead, because a lot of time has been wasted also. They've not managed to go, into the project thing. Technology is now outdated and rates are too high, and hence we are going to make sure that we move in a faster manner by going for the expression of interest, fresh one with fresh technology, and pursue these projects in whatever way we can. Yeah. So with one of the partners, the major one, it is on September 30th. It's very clear. Then on October 15th, I'm presuming, I don't have all the information right now with me, but I'm presuming this is the one that NTPC project that was supposed to, but we had then written it off because the rates were high at that time for us. And we had written it off to Tamil Nadu or Chhattisgarh, I can't remember. And now from 15th of October, that power will come back to us now. And we are going to buy it, though it's a bit higher rate, but what is important is that it's going to be stable. So that power which we had forgone, and we had given it to other states because the rates were high for us at that point in time. We are looking at the larger picture and we are seeing that comparatively the stability will be there. So we have decided to go for that. So I think the 15th October one is the one that project we're talking about.
Haba keren pat halor ke national education policy nakaliang konrad sangma ulo ong. Baka Sarkar India kala ju yarap ya ke Sarkar Meghalaya na kapor sa kapor hagi babun ki benta but kam don ke jing pensisya baka Sarkar kan ai kata na benta ban Pyntreikam ya ke national education policy hapo ke Jylla Henry ha ka waipat kaliang ke Sarkar India ka yarap ban Beit pisa na benta ki jingshna ki badan kam hagi jaka puli but ki wei ki jingtei ki badan kam pada sakhiru baki jingyarap ki wan na ke Sarkar India Kamtam umentri ubadai pet ya katrat puli puthi jong Sarkar India ubala ai ke jingkershan ya ke Jylla Meghalaya man bapan ya ke jingyarap bad banong baka Sarkar India kam yarap kata kalong ke pemyahap Henry ha ka bay pat bad ka pisa ka ban Pyntreikam ya ke national education policy ka Sarkar keme ka klem ai jingyarap bad kam don ai ru badu konrad ulo ong baka Jylla kala ya chakmat ha ka bay bad ka jing Pyntreikam ya ke national education policy.
But yes, center has always been helping us in different ways. So there's no specific guidance from the government saying that, well, we'll give this much of money or something for NEP implementation. But indirectly, Government of India is helping all the states, whether it's in the creation of infrastructure at the college levels, whether it's in terms of different support in any way, training that's happening. So support is coming in from Government of India, and I thank Government of India, especially our Education Minister, who has been very, very supportive of Meghalaya. And at every step, wherever we have asked for help and support, he has always supported us. So hence, I don't want to say that they're not helping, but the direct funding for NEP, specifically saying that, well, this is the money for implementing NEP, that is not there. Because as you said correctly, it's a huge financial implication and we'll have to work it out. And let's see. I don't think it'll be possible for us to sit here and resolve it. But let us move forward and then try to see where we can.
So what is the fate of colleges that will not implement?
That's not possible for me to say, but as I said, the policy will be straightforward, and I think the registrations or their affiliations with the respective universities will be impacted. So I'm sure that all those impacts will be there, but that's not going to happen today. It's not a threat that we are using, but I'm presuming that tomorrow, say after 4 years, 5 years, when they have to go for renewal of their affiliation, then I'm sure these conditions will come in and the questions will arise, and then obviously if they're not in the line with that, it could affect the affiliation of the college to a particular university is what I'm guessing. But that is something that I will not be able to comment on right now. I don't have the details with me. Clear that we are going ahead with the NEP. There's no doubt about it, and there's no going back on that. There are colleges, there are individuals who have issues. We have no problem. Please come and discuss the matter with us. We're ready to take up the matter and discuss and find a way if there are any solutions. You can discuss the problems that you have. Maybe the problems that you're seeing are actually not even there. So maybe some clarity is required, some discussion is required. Like you were mentioning about the Forest Act, whether you give all the permissions. All permissions cannot be given by Forest Department. Only forest clearance is given. They have to go for all the clearances in that also. So similarly in this also there must be some misunderstandings. We'll clarify those.
But don't you think the MCTA is misleading the people by saying that if we go for NEP, there will be lots of problems for the students?
No, I mean, see, I'm not here to blame or to point a finger at anybody. They have concerns, and again, MCTA don't have concerns as a whole. There are some individuals out there who have some concerns. I don't say they're causing problems. They have concerns. So we'll address those concerns. There's no problem in that. We'll talk to them and we'll clarify. And I'm open and welcome them all. That whoever has concerns, please come. Our education minister is ready to meet, and if necessary, I'm also available. So if any time is there, you need clarification, we're there to clarify, because I have spoken to many of the principals. I know almost a lot of them, and they're directly in contact with me on the phone. Most of them have expressed that they would want to be going ahead with this, and they just need the support, and we've said that we will do as much as we can to support. But yeah, concerning the fact that if anybody has said that it's not good for the students, that's not true at all. The students may face challenges, there's no doubt about that. But as I said, a transition is always complicated. It's not easy to transit into a new system. There are complications, students will have to adapt. But what you have to realize that is the goal and is the objective good or not? Which I would like to say is a good objective. It's good. The kind of NEP policy we have is great. It's going to be very good for the students and for our community and our society and our country. And therefore we should go ahead with it. And whatever challenges that are there, let's work to it together and try to resolve them. I have spoken to many of the colleges and many of the principals, and almost every principal I have spoken to and almost every college I've spoken to, they all understand that NEP is good for the state and good for the students, and it is the right way to move forward. The challenge is in actually implementing it immediately. Now please understand that what does it mean? NEP requires multidisciplinary subjects to be there. Now say there is a commerce college. Now commerce college should also have science, should also have arts. Now is it a great concept? It is a great concept, obviously, and they would be happy to do it. Now that decision should be taken and we should go ahead with it. I'm giving an example only. Now what the colleges are saying is that, well, if you have to start that, then the 3 years courses now have to be completed made into 4 years course. And we have to start a science wing. Who's going to give us the money to start the science wing? Who's going to pay for the salaries of the college teachers? Who's going to pay for the building to be constructed? So the concerns are the implementation of this will require huge financial challenges, and hence how do we move forward? So these are one of the issues. I'm not saying this is everything, but this is one of the issues. Other issues are they're saying that, well, how does the 4-year course become into a 3 years course become into 4 years? Because now the course will have to be redefined in year 1, and you'll have to have different mechanisms for semester-wise programs. And so now if we change semester 1, then we have to say change semester 2, 3, 4. So the colleges have to adapt to a new system. So change is always something that is not very comfortable for anybody. It's not just colleges, even for us. We all would go through the same process. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that there is no, let's be very clear on this. There is nobody who's against the NEP. Majority of the teachers and the students and the principals are all for the NEP to be implemented. Issue only is in the different requirements to implement it and the process of implementing, which is very, very technically complicated and financially complicated, and hence how will they do it immediately. So it's a process. I think once the discussion takes place between the university and the government and the colleges, that we will allow a smooth way, and we'll keep supporting in whatever way possible there is there. I think an understanding will develop. I don't see things so complicated. I don't personally see, as I said, in the decision. But yes, it's complicated in terms of the requirements that are there. And we will discuss and we'll see how to implement it. But the question, as correctly said by the VC, that we cannot go back on that decision. The whole country is moving forward with this. We need to go ahead with this. And the colleges also know that they need to go ahead with this. They are also on board saying that it is good, but challenges are there, and so just let us work together to overcome these challenges.
Sir, a section of
issues which I have no idea what you're talking about. So in the air, I think it's very difficult to talk really. You're talking about UCC. So I don't know I've not seen the UCC bill till now. I have not seen the resolution for India, Bharat. I have not seen the resolution for one election, so I really don't know what to comment.
Suppose
So
a
when
decision is made.
No, then I'll comment. I have to see what it is.
The nation is discussing, so Meghalaya cannot be exempted.
No, I understand, but let them bring what the proposal is. What is the proposal?
The proposal is to have one election. So maybe.
So how will it help? I mean, when you sat with
Meghalaya may go over election.
Yeah, when you had meeting with the Prime Minister on this issue.
Konrad Uloong haba ajing kren haki no kinu ki rensan lada day ba kren de ka phareng Pyndonkam de ka kintin India lada kren de ka kintin Hindi pan Pyndonkam de ka kintin Bharat but ha kari ti sanchar jong kari ka kadau shai ba kari India ka dei ka Bharat but kam don ka jing ya tai ne ka jing ba munjur halor kata but dei ki brave hi ba penlong daw ba ya gani ka mat kumta ai kon long kum bakalong Lada pai sha usnem khat khandai spa sa pu nyo but usnem khat khandai spa san po haga por bala shna ye gariti sanchar jong kari haga tu ko por karai ka khamlong ka ba Henry lada hagi togi por lada ki nongelam ki rai ba ka kerteng kan dei bait Bharat te kan dei bait kumta Henry hagi togi por ka riti sanchar ka kren shai but ke India ka dei ka Bharat parado mentaru kum ginong song snong jong kari ki dang bot ya ka johi ka rukom kata kat kum gajing penkam jong kariti sanchar bat kam donjing bakala la de Pyndonkam ye ka kintin India ni Bharat la benrap ukonrat sangma
or I'm in a platform anywhere I say it's going to be for us for our nation is India and we work with India very clear on that अगर आप मुझसे पूछेंगे कि आप क्या करना चाहते हैं और देश का क्या हो रहा है मैं बोलूँगा हमारा देश भारत तो मैं हिंदी जब बोलूँगा तो मैं भारत बोलूँगा और जब इंग्लिश में बात करूंगा मैं इंडिया बोलूंगा so I think there's no and the constitution is very clear it says India which is Bharat I think there's no controversy I think we're creating a controversy where there's no controversy so let it be we've been working in this manner see this issue if you ask me in 1947 or 1950 when the constitution came out at that point in time that decision was critical if that time the constitution makers and writers and the then political leaders had decided that it should be Bharat, then that's how it should be. But when the constitution at that point said that India, Bharat, right now what we're doing is we're following the constitution. And I have in many speeches of mine, whenever I speak anywhere in Hindi, I have used Bharat all the time because that's what India is. And wherever I've spoken anywhere in many platforms, I've used India because wherever so depending on the situation we use it. I don't feel that it's a controversy as such. It is a question of using the language and wherever, and I don't think there's anything wrong in using the word either India or Bharat. I think it's all depends on the situation you're in. The constitution mandates us to use either of the words, and India and Bharat, and I'm proud of both the words. Yeah, so forest clearance, that's the thing, but there are multiple clearances which are required from state, which are required from district council, which are required from the Rangbashnong, which is required from ABCD organizations. There's no exemption to those. Please understand, what is the objective of the forest clearance is that they're saying now a project like Dauki Road. We are stuck because there's a forest clearance there. Example, we have been asked, the whole Dauki, this road was there, Shillong, the Umshirpi area, all these things first. They will not be required forest clearance anymore. So we have had to seek forest clearance for that road, we don't have to seek anymore. But does that mean that we don't require the clearance from army? We need to because the land is there. Does it mean we don't require district council? We need it because district council land is there. I mean, their jurisdiction is there. Does it mean that we don't have to seek the government of Meghalaya's thing or PhD department? Doesn't mean that we have to. So, absolutely not. It is only meant for forest clearance that tomorrow big ticket projects that are being hindered because of forest coming into the picture, like the 2-lane, 4-lane to Dauki, tomorrow we don't have to take any clearance from forest department for Dauki Road. But all other clearances for Dauki Road, as per law, will still be required.
Sir, so what is your message? Because
my message is that
fear, so that you allay all these fears.
Absolutely. I've explained some part to you now only, and I'm happy to discuss it in the assembly to bring full clarity on the matter. No problem. Sir, and if anybody has any questions, please come and you can always ask. Forest department cannot give a mandate in their law that nobody can oppose. The law is saying that the forest department, you will not have to seek clearance from forest department. So please understand the language that you're using. Forest Act has only the power to exempt a project from seeking forest clearance 100 kilometers from the border. Forest clearance, which means that tomorrow if somebody wants to put up a project, you don't have to seek forest clearance is what it says. Not that forest department will now say that no more, no Rangbashnong, no district council, no, they don't have the power to do that, and that's not what they meant also. So understand, that's what I'm asking you. When we are asking the issue and what it is, then it should come out with specifics on what particular provision and which particular amendment are we concerned about and what should be changed in it. So it'll be good if we do that.
So whether the government has
Resolution.
No, suppose the UCC says that the whole of India should become a matrilineal society. Shall I oppose it?
No, it should be.
No, I'm just asking you that if the UCC, as in when you're asking me to oppose it, suppose the UCC says tomorrow, I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying if the UCC has the thing that's saying that the UCC will be in terms of the lineage, from now on India will be lineage towards the girl child, and so the lineage will be from the mother, and so this is the new UCC.
We are not
So-
anticipating that.
No, I'm not saying. So what are you anticipating? So I don't know what to anticipate is what I'm asking you. What to object is what I'm asking you. UCC, you're asking me to come out with something, resolution on what? Give me a document. Then I will tell you whether I can object to it or not. Because tomorrow, suppose UCC says that the lineage will be from the mother, I think Meghalaya will be the first one to accept it. I'm asking you for details. So therefore, what I'm saying is we can't go for anything under assumptions. We are running a government out here. And as a government, what I'm saying is that a UCC in general, if you look at it as a thought process and as an idea for diverse nation like country, looks very difficult is what I'm saying. So therefore, it's not something that can go very easily for a country like India, is my stand. But what to object or not to object or resolution to pass depends on what is it that the UCC is coming for. Without seeing the document, I cannot comment is what I'm saying.
But the National Law Commission is only there. Maybe the documents are there.
No, the National Law Commission is only taking views. Where is the bill? You have to give me the bill to read, and then I'll tell you whether I support or don't support. If the bill says tomorrow that whole of India will become an matrilineal country, I guess at that point, whatever study and whatever feasibility study was done and government was keen. You see, again, I'm not here to blame anybody. Let's be very fair to everybody out here. I think it's important to note that efforts are made by different governments to do different things, and things don't always turn out the way say you wanted to and plan. And so maybe hindsight, it's easy for us to look back and say, oh, why did they sign it? But at that moment, maybe the government had intentions to move forward in this. Our government has intentions to move forward in many things. So it all depends, and maybe things did not go as planned. But now, at this current point, when we look back at the project, we are not finding the feasibility at this point in time. And therefore, 8 rupees, 9 rupees rate is too high. And the time taken for them to even reach this stage is also too much, too long. And therefore, keeping all those factors in mind, we want to start afresh. And as I said, we're going to go with anybody who's there. Even MECL is welcome to work on it. Even NIPCO is welcome to work on it, or any of the private parties are welcome. For us, what is going to be in the best interest of the state and the best way to move forward so that we're able to stabilize the power scenario in our state is what we're looking at. So it's tough, not simple decision, but somewhere you have to, as I said, take a decision. When we had taken decision for Ganol also at that point in time, the decision in front of us was, shall we scrap it or shall we go ahead with it? And and it required us to take a decision of 250 crores at that point in time, almost 300 crores. We said no. We have already invested. This is our own company, MECL. We've come halfway. Let's go all the way. So these are tough decisions. Again, as I said, keeping in mind all the factors that are there, the cabinet feels that this is the right way forward at this point in time.
Sir,